So, under the Airports Act, an airport management company are required to provide the draft master plan for public consultation. What must the airport management company do with submissions that are received?
Senator Stephanie Werner, First Assistant Secretary, Domestic Aviation and Reform. I don't have the provisions of the Airports Act in front of me, but my understanding is they need to consider the submissions and then they need to advise the Minister how they took into account those submissions.
So I think it's Section 7, Part 2, so that if members of the public have given written comments about the preliminary version, in accordance with the notice, the draft plan submitted to the Minister must be accompanied by copies of those comments and a written certificate signed on behalf of the company, listing the names, summarising the comments, demonstrating the company has due regard and setting out other information. Sounds about right. So, for each submission received, is the airport management company required to provide any feedback to the members of the public in the other way?
Not that I'm aware of, Senator.
If any alterations are made, is the airport management company required to go back to the people that made their original concerns known if you change it?
Well, it would depend on how significant the change was, Senator.
Who determines significance?
I'd have to refer to the Act, Senator. I'm sorry.
I haven't got it with me. I'm not the expert. Is someone in the department aware of the Airport Act? Airports Act?
I don't have the Airport Act with me.
Do you have someone that knows about it? Do you have some of your legal team here?
I mean, I've got a copy of the Airports Act in the other room, Senator.
I don't need you to read me the Airport Act, Ms Werner, but I do want you to help me understand how it's applied.
Well, Senator, I think that that there wouldn't generally be a requirement to go back to people who had made comments. No, Senator. The only requirement would be if it had changed so significantly that it were a different master plan.
So changes essentially, a flaw in the Act might be that you can go out to consult on a draft, you get that in, you report that back to the Minister, the airport changes the plan, but there's no requirement to to consult on any changes, significant or not, really, unless you're repositioning runways.
Well, yes, I think...
Is repositioning runways a significant change?
Well, the repositioning of a runway depends on how the extent to which it's repositioned, I suppose. I mean, I think when the Minister rejects a master plan and a revised master plan is submitted by an airport lessee company, there's no requirement for them to do a second round of consultation. So I think there could be reasonably significant changes without further consultation being required, Senator.
Yeah, that's my concern. So what is the process by which the Department and the Minister assess the preliminary draft master plan?
Well, we assess it against the requirements of the Act.
And
so we would go through the Act section by section.
Yeah. And so what sorts of things, if somebody isn't completely across the Airport Act, what sorts of things would be part of the Minister's consideration in approving a draft plan under the Act?
Well, the master plan needs to set out the intended use of the airport. It needs to set out how it will cater for future aviation needs. It needs to set out how it will accommodate all communities on the airport, so aeronautical and non-aeronautical services. So we would assess the master plan against the requirements of the contents of the master plan, i.e. does it contain all of the things that it needs to contain? It needs to include an Australian noise exposure forecast, and then we would assess whether the matters that the minister needs to satisfy themselves as to whether the minister can be satisfied as to those things on the basis of the plan as presented.
Submissions that everyone puts in.
Yes.
Technical assessments.
We would consider the responses to the submissions and whether we consider those to be satisfactory, or whether we would advise the minister that those are satisfactory.
I just might leave it there because I have to attend to something now that Senator O'Sullivan's back, or